Our mission, Helping Parents Heal, is a nonprofit organization dedicated to assisting bereaved parents. Through support and resources offered, we aspire to help individuals become shining light parents, meaning a shift from a state of emotional heaviness to one of hopefulness and greater peace of mind. Helping Parents Heal goes a step beyond other groups by allowing the open discussion of spiritual experiences and afterlife evidence in a non dogmatic way. Helping Parents Heal affiliate groups welcome everyone, regardless of religious or non religious background, and encourage open dialogue. Attendance at all Helping Parents Heal meetings is voluntary. All discussions that take place at affiliate led meetings are confidential. We hope that participants will learn from and share with each other. Zoom meetings run by leadership are not confidential. These meetings typically feature guest presenters and are posted on YouTube so that affiliate members worldwide can watch and benefit. Neither type of Helping Parents Heal meeting is designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. Helping Parents Heal offers a wide variety of speakers, allowing parents to learn about many possible ways to heal. This includes presenters covering progressive topics such as afterlife evidence and connecting with our children who have passed. The views expressed by our guest speakers may or may not reflect the opinions of Helping Parents Heal leaders and members, so we ask that you take from their presentations whatever may benefit you personally. Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much, Susan and Bill, for being with us this evening.
Yes, thank you so much for being with us this evening. And this is going to be an amazing evening. I just want to say that the last YouTube that was done with Susan and Bill Van Oije, with Greg assisting, is one of the most watched YouTube videos of Helping Parents Heal. So this one probably will also be one of those YouTube videos that everyone wants to watch. As you probably understand, Bill and Susan are our Calgary affiliate leaders. They have their son, Greg, in spirit. They started out here in Scottsdale coming to meetings. They had a place here and they had a place in Calgary. And then they started their own group up there. And I just wanted to read this very short information about them. Our presenters tonight, Susan and Bill Van Oije, are the parents of two beautiful children, their son in spirit, Greg, who passed from this earth 9 years ago at age 27, and their daughter, Kristin. They're very pleased to join their fellow Shining Light parents tonight to share the beautiful messages they received from Greg about how to live your best life on this very challenging planet. Many of you know Bill from his first presentation to all of us about the incredible signs he's received from Greg after discovering, much to his surprise, that he can communicate with his son on the other side. Susan writes a monthly column for Helping Parents Heal that details these amazing experiences. Together, they are the affiliate leaders of our Calgary, Canada chapter and hold monthly meetings on Zoom that are open to all the members of Helping Parents Heal. Susan and Bill are so grateful that 9 years after Greg transitioned, the amazing wow signs from him still come thick and fast. But in the past few years, Greg is also providing his parents with the how to best navigate this earth plane and grow our souls. Greg is providing beautiful guidance to approach life on different terms from his big picture perspective, which is the same as all of our kids. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Susan and Bill to talk about how to move from wow to how. And I will put the link to his YouTube video in the chat box. Welcome, Susan and Bill.
Great. Thank you very much, Elizabeth.
So much, Elizabeth.
And thank you, Irene.
And Irene, yeah.
And welcome, everyone. Like Elizabeth said, a lot of this was really, I was amazed what started to happen. And if you haven't seen my first video, you can get a lot more detail about that, but I won't spend a lot of time talking about, that video. But, Greg did pass 9 years ago, this past September the 7th. That's when he transitioned. And it was very early on that he started to come through, to me. I could see his outline about 3 days after his passing. And then I started to have a lot of really vivid and lucid dreams, for a period of time after that. Um, what was really fantastic about the whole thing is that Greg was coming through to me. Had it been just me, in this whole process, I would probably have not written most of it down. I know I wouldn't have, and I wouldn't be able to refer to it now, and at a later time to see exactly, what has happened over that 9 year period. But thank God, Susan, I was going to say, I don't know who this woman is. She just followed me in here and sat down beside me. But Elizabeth has already told you it's Susan. And sure enough, Susan is a journalist. And so her natural instinct is to write everything down and keep records of everything. She's the organized one. I'm the one that gets all the messages from Greg. And between the two of us, we were able to team up and put it all together, which has been a real blessing. I've had about 2,200 different experiences. Some are dreams, some are just synchronicities, and other ones are automatic writing that started to happen, shortly after, well, not shortly, but about 4 years after Greg's passing. I started to be able to actually hear him and write down what he was saying. I've always been able to not have that monkey brain and get rid of those, kind of crazy thoughts where your brain's calling, it's always doing something. So it was easy for me to hear Greg come through, because Susan used to say to me, "What are you thinking, Bill?" And I used to say, "Absolutely nothing." And so some people think that that's being simple, but for me, it was a real gift because it allowed me to hear Greg and know that it was him and not my thoughts, because that's initially what you think when you start to hear, those messages and voice inside you, because it's coming from within, and you think, well, is it me making this up, or is it actually Greg? And I was getting images of Greg, coming through and talking to me, so I sense him, when this happens. But I was doing a meditation about 5 years ago, and what happened at that moment, as I heard Greg come through to me, and at that time he started talking, and he said, "Get up and write this down." And that started the automatic writing, and it's continued really quite a lot since that time. I probably, well, now I can just actually sit in a room and just listen to him and have a conversation with him if I want to, which is a pretty amazing thing. I still doubt it sometimes, but Susan says to me, "Well, Bill, you just don't use words like that," and it's true. I mean, he speaks in a way that I really don't talk like, and I know it's him. I mean, sometimes I write down words that I don't even know the meaning of, and I have to look them up, on the internet just to see what that particular word meant. So what I'm wanting to do here is, because I stood here in the kitchen when Elizabeth asked us to talk about this, and we've had like these amazing wows, and Susan writes a article, every month for the HPH newsletter. And, that is sometimes describing all the wows that we've had, and the, synchronicities and so forth. And, this is something beyond that now that Greg is doing with his with the automatic writing that I'm receiving from him, because he's moved it from, letting us know he's here, to now helping guide us in how to live more effectively down here. And that's quite a transition, for us, and much appreciated. because he sees the big picture and we don't. And it's difficult down here sometimes to navigate this world. Everybody knows that. There's a lot of challenges. And, those challenges aren't by coincidence or by accident. I mean, if, the source, our God, wanted this place to be easy, it would be easy, but it's not. And I think that the reason it isn't is because those opportunities provide learning experiences, and then you can decide from those difficult moments what you want to do with those experiences, with those difficult moments that you're having. That's what happened to me initially when Greg passed. It was so difficult for me. I say on my first video, it was the most beautiful thing that ever happened to me, yet it was the most horrific thing that ever happened to me. And the reason it was beautiful was because I absolutely was devastated by what happened. And then I got down on my hands and knees and I said, help me, God, please help me. And that's when I put my ego aside. I laid down all my self-will and control, because that's the kind of person I was. And that's when the miracles started to come through, and that was, a really eye-opening experience for me, because I had never been able to surrender. I had been in AA for 32 years. And I used to say to Susan, there's one thing I can't do, and that's surrender. I think I'm going to have to come back here again and do it all over, because I just cannot, learn to get out of my own way. So that experience that I had with Greg's passing ended up being one of the greatest things that's happened to me, as a result of his, moving to the other side, because I could not have done that without that experience. And Susan said very early on, Bill, Greg has saved you. And that's absolutely true, because that then allowed me to be able to start looking at this world in a completely different way. I'm 69 years old now, and I was one way 60 years. And now I've been working on trying to incorporate some of the things that Greg has talked to me about, and so I consider myself only to be a 9-year-old at this point in time with the new way that I'm looking at this world. But, I've come to realize that we all are love, we are all light, and we are all eternal. And those are three concepts that I didn't really have well ingrained, when I started out on my journey here on this earth. So, it's been an amazing thing. I always knew, I know now that I've had a really profound relationship with Greg. It's really quite amazing. And he's talked to me about it. He has said that, I have been his father in this lifetime and he has been my son. But the roles have been reversed in previous lifetimes, where I've been his son and he's been my father, and we've been doing this dance, over millennia, because we all are eternal. And, it's an amazing thing when you start to think about that, we have these people who we travel through, our lifetime, with, which never ends, and that we're actually, figuring ways out that we can grow our souls, become better people, and do the things that we need to do. That's what I've always thought about, as since Greg's passing, is that this is a school that we're on down here, and that we're, here to learn and here to grow and raise our vibration. Now, surrender, it's considered one of the big ones down here, because when you can surrender, you can put your ego aside and your self-will, and then you're teachable, Greg calls it, and that gives the guides that you have. And I've met many guides so far in my experience since Greg's passing, probably about 7 or 8, that are working with me. And once you surrender, it's almost like you give those guides permission for them to start working with you and on your behalf, because they know that you're listening and that you're teachable, and that's an amazing thing too. So, that soul planning and that, experience I've had with Greg, I can't think of a greater way to express love to someone than to do that. I know Greg came down here for his own journey, but he didn't spend a lot of time here. I think our children who pass young, like all of us have had, it's because they're old souls and they're down here to help us. And I had a choice at the time when Greg passed. I could have got really bitter and twisted, which is where I was living anyways, or I could have used it as an opportunity for future growth. And I decided to take the high road, and thank God I did. But life is tough, I say, and the best thing is that what we're going to do now is talk a little bit about some of the downloads that I've had. Sue's going to read some of them because they're pretty profound. I could talk all night long about those kinds of things, but to hear Greg's words actually and how he expresses it and what I've written down, it's poetic, and it's really beautiful. So you don't have to listen to me all night. I'm going to be able to turn it over to her. I'm still saying that we're still getting the house. But the wows are now amazing. And you'll find that these 5 things that Greg talks to us about are all interconnected and that they all support each other. So as we go through the rest of the night here, we'll talk about each one of those, and then you can start to see the big picture on how Greg is teaching us to live our lives down here so that it's easier in this difficult place. And at the same time, you can learn from the experiences you're having and grow your soul and become, a better person down here. I mean, just the fact that I'm talking to HPH tonight is an amazing thing for me. I would never have been able to do that before, nor did I care to, but now with everything that's happening, I actually want to be doing these kinds of things because I know that, one, it's good for me. It's a loving thing I'm doing for myself. It's a loving thing I'm doing for Susan. And I know that it's loving for everyone else too, if they get it and they understand it. So, you can only try to give something back. And like I said, that's a new thought for me, but I appreciate the opportunity. And that's why we're running HPH. So I'll turn it over to Sue, and she'll read the first couple things about soul planning.
Greg has talked to his dad many times about their deep connection that Bill's already talked about, but I'd like to share now with you 2 messages about their soul contract, just to give you an idea about their connection, which I believe we all have with our kids. But Greg has been able to tell his dad specifically what this is all about, and it's truly astounding. This was Greg's Father's Day message to his dad 2 years ago, last year. And within the last couple of, I think about 8 months, Greg has started opening up a desk drawer on my big wooden desk that I've had in my office here for probably 33 years. And the drawer has never spontaneously opened before. But now we know, and Greg has confirmed this, that when he wants to talk to his dad, he has something important to say, he'll pop the drawer open using love energy. So anyway, that's just a bit of background because he mentions that in this message, this Father's Day message. This is what Greg said to his dad, and then Bill wrote it down. Dad, thanks for taking the time to connect. You were meditating and thinking about me and what I wanted to say, and I heard you and you heard me. That's what we do. So neat. Means so much to me that I can connect so easily with you, and wanted to show you I was here. So I opened the drawer again. That is my sign to you. I need to talk, and I am here. You have already figured that out. So again, because of our soul connection over millennia, we have figured out how to speak across the veil with no difficulty through much exchanged light and energy, fueling our capacity to communicate. So this relationship we have is not just bound to this earth, as when I was your son, but bound to the infinite universe from where we come. You are my dad in this incarnation, and those roles have been reversed in previous lifetimes. So we know the true meaning of what it is to be a son and father to each other. I want to say today that I'm very proud to be your son, and happy Father's Day. We, the children of dads here, are celebrating this day in honor of our dads who've been there for us in our moments of our greatest need, which you certainly were for me. Thanks, Dad, for all you've done and continue to do for me. It's an honor to be on this journey with you. I feel truly blessed. I am helping others here to tear down the veil so more love and understanding can navigate itself back and forth from your 3D world to our world of light and love energy that has no bounds and can manifest anything with heart intention for all to see. Love forever, your son, Gregory William Van Oije. It's emotional for us, and then a few months later, Greg talked to his dad again about the pact that they had made a very long time ago. Bill was halfway through a meditation. He was laying on the floor with his eyes closed in our office, and all of a sudden he saw an outline of Greg. And at first his outline was very cloudy and wispy and outlined in gray, like a floating body in front of him. And then he materialized into Greg. Bill said he could see Greg's face, his body, and a big smile on his face, and he got a real warm, loving feeling from him. Here's what Greg said to his dad, and Bill wrote it down. You see how easy it is for you to see me and connect. Just close your eyes and see me and feel me close to you. It is a very strong connection. We are in mind meld, in a mind meld, so to speak. And what you see, I see, and what I feel, you feel. Quite a beautiful experience, together yet separate. I feel your new calmness in your day-to-day living, swinging with the flow of the universe's energy. It ebbs and flows, it advances and retreats. It's like a clock ticking through time, and you knowing when to engage and when to withdraw and change directions with the flow, like waves hitting a beach, in and out, all in synchronicities. You feel the pulse and become one with the flow. I see it, I feel it. The fear is gone. You are tapped into the source, as am I, and it feels good and whole, loving it. Can you feel how it's translating into your body? The energy flows through you the same way it flows through your reality. Keep it flowing. It's all healing. Embrace the flow. Alignment is the answer, and you are tapped in. All miracles stem from this connection, and there are no can'ts. All is possible. You're starting to believe. Can you imagine what this will look like as you continue on your path and become ever more connected and immersed while playing out your destiny? It will be miraculous. I will continue to pass on my love and energy to you as it is endless. This is our pact made a very long time ago. Much love always, Gregory. There's four key messages that Greg talks to us over and over again about, through his dad, of course, mainly, about how to live your best life in this very challenging place. And the first message that we're going to share tonight with you is surrender. And by surrender, we don't mean giving up, by the way. And Bill's going to talk about that.
Yeah, so Greg talks a lot about surrender. And what he says about surrender is really releasing your ego. I mean, when I was living down here initially, before Greg transitioned, I was into ego, if you understand that. I mean, it was my bus, I was driving it, and no one told me what to do. I didn't necessarily, I believed in a higher power, but it's still, that was in the background. When I got into trouble sometimes and things weren't going my way, I might try to reach out and say, hey, listen, I need some help. But it really wasn't anything that I really wanted to change in my personality. So when you talk about surrender, Greg talks about putting the ego aside, laying it down, putting your self-will away, and the thing is that when you're in ego, you're off balance. I was off balance a lot. And then I would just try harder. And I always remember, the feeling of this world down here. It felt like I was constantly pushing a rock up a hill. What I've come to understand is that it doesn't need to be difficult down here. If you're tapped into, the energy and the flow of what's supposed to be happening down here, it's like floating downstream, and things will happen. And you don't need to control everything, and you don't need to be pushing it. So it's a big difference. What I'm understanding now is, in the past, I used to live with a lot of low vibrational energy. I used to be angry. I used to be very impatient. I used to be fearful on some things. Would I be successful? Would I lose everything? Money was a big issue for me. It is for a lot of people down here. And so that was my ego trying to maintain some kind of sense of control down here. And what I'm realizing is that that's not what it's all about. What it is about is, like I said, surrender. And if you surrender and put the ego aside, it gives your guides the opportunity to come and start working with you. Because now, like they say, and Greg's told me, you're teachable. So Greg talks to me a lot about making sure that you have faith, trust, and belief, that you really know that what is happening from the universe is real. And he used to say that to me in the beginning and in my dreams. It's all real. It's all true, Dad. Trust, have faith, and believe that it's all happening exactly as it's supposed to, and that's what I've come to realize too. There are no mistakes. There are no coincidences, that everything is happening according to what you are creating, and that is, either through your self-will or it's by letting go. And I can tell you, living life in a state of surrender is a heck of a lot easier than trying to push that rock up the hill. So I'll turn it over to Sue, and she can hear what Greg has to say about that.
I'm going to share with you 2 messages from Greg about what he's told his dad about surrender and releasing the ego. Hi, Dad. You are learning so much about how this universal energy originating from the great I am, the source, works, that it requires you to tap into the flow, become one in your alignment with this energy, that you can reject it through self-will and endure the karma, or surrender and allow the universe to guide you through your journey, following your intuitions, and watch the universe respond to your desires through the manifestations. You have learned that nothing is impossible, that if you have trust, faith, and believe, and follow your heart brain, you can have it all, because love is forever and infinitely abundant. The only thing standing in the way of karma versus utopia is the ego. Taming that is the job. This reduces separation and creates alignment and flow with the loving God source. You asked yesterday, how am I doing? You are well on your way, and this is the awakening to all the wonders I have shown you. Remembering who you are, love and light and an eternal being, which is the gift bestowed upon you. This then becomes the foundation for advancing your soul and how it responds to the daily challenges, arresting the doubt, fear, anger, perfectionism, etc. Then permits life to be lived and felt in its most joyful way. Always the intention. The hardships are there to snap you out of your complacency of ego existence. Most choose this path to stay in ego. It's easier. You have responded with a more mature approach. Continue along these ways, taming your ego, and you're accomplishing in this lifetime what you set out to do. There will be many untold rewards for you and all who follow this path. This school is hard, but was chosen by many. Few will pass, many will repeat. But once you have adopted the concepts I talk about and you have experienced them, there is no going back. It may not be expressed perfectly all the time, but perfection is an ego thought, and perfection is not expected. These changes are at a deeper soul level, and so take one step at a time, one day at a time, moving forward. Progress, not perfection, is the goal. Love, Greg. And then at another point on the same concept of surrender and releasing the ego, Greg said through his dad, you have both been through some personally challenging lessons. Make the most of it by having learned more about why you're here. That acceptance and surrender to all is the only way forward in all circumstances. Return as soon as possible to the joy, love, and happiness that we all came to Earth to experience. I had many challenging times, and I was not able to accept and surrender my circumstances. You know how that ended. I want for you to be able to find that, so you can again be in a state of wonder at how amazing it is to be alive, no matter what. No one ever said it would be easy, but the greatest gifts are the ones we can endure, move through acceptance, and then surrender to the will of God. For you may not understand why now, but you will look back and be grateful for all you currently find in your present moment.
Thank you, Sue. So you can see that it's pretty amazing what Greg's downloading to me. You know, when Sue actually went through all the material, because that's what she does. You know, and there were probably a couple 100
Oh, yeah.
at least, you know, of these messages, and she kind of skimmed through the ones and read them, which were the most profound of all of the ones that we've received. But it's an ongoing thing, and he's constantly talking to us about this, because it's not easy to learn this stuff. Okay, once you've been a certain way down here, you know, it's easy to fall back into old behavior. You know, it's simple to understand the concepts. Putting it into practice is the hard part, you know, and that's what we need to work on all the time. That's why Greg constantly talks to me about the same things over and over and over again, because it's like I'm thick as a brick and I need to be smacked across the forehead with a 2x4 in order to get it. I mean, I didn't get surrender down here very easily. It took my son to go to the other side before it put me on my knees enough for me to be able to surrender. So I'm not one of those people that can easily, you know, make that adjustment. And that's what I'm working on right now. You know, I was not a very happy person down here, okay? And I was not very joyful. And I certainly was not engaged with very many people that I had a very good opinion about. But, you know, those things are changing now because of what Greg is doing for me, okay? And it took him to awaken me to the understanding of that. So the next one we're going to talk about is alignment with source, okay? And that alignment is with source. And what we're talking about is to reach for a higher vibration. You know, when you're unaligned and you're in ego, you're in low vibration. You know, and like I said before, all of these themes that he talks about are interconnected, so that, you know, one kind of overlaps into the other one. So you hear some of the same concepts, but different things that you need to do in order to be able to accomplish the most effective way of trying to live down here. You know, Greg says that in his world, in a 5D world of alignment, that, you know, aligning with the source is a natural thing to do for people who are on the other side. So it's nice that we know that our children are in a place that is much better, much happier, much more joyful, and much more aligned to source. But we come down here and we experience separation. And in that separation, we experience hardship because we get into ego and survival mode down here. And what we need to do is do the opposite. It's like George Costanza used to say on Friends, you know,
on Seinfeld.
on Seinfeld.
Yeah.
He used to say, you know, my life isn't working right now, so maybe I should just do the opposite. And then they had a whole show about how he did everything opposite of what he used to do. Well, that's where I feel I am sometimes. I used to do it one way. My mom used to tell me there is nothing you can't accomplish if you don't use self-will. You know, and that's the mode of operation that I used to go through in this life. But then I'm realizing now that it isn't self-will that's required down here. It's letting go and aligning with source and letting that happen in your life so that you can reach a higher vibration. You know, so, you know, the life will try to throw you off your path down here. And that's why Greg constantly talks to us about the same thing over and over again. But it's about learning, it's about growing, simple concepts, hard to put into practice. So, you know, like I say, be in the flow. And when you find yourself, you know, that you're not, what he says is stop, meditate, breathe, go for walks in nature, be still, quiet the monkey brain, you know, and that way you can then start to see whether or not that connection that you need with alignment is there or not. And if it's not, those are the ways to accomplish that. So I'll turn it over to Sue now again, and she's going to talk about what Greg says about alignment.
So Bill was in the office meditating, and Greg started to talk to him, and Bill had asked him if he had anything to tell him, and this is what he said. Hi, Dad. Hi, Mom. You are awakening and developing with me your divine inner spiritual wisdom. This is a must if you are to navigate the third dimension successfully, the physical realm. For if this connection is not accessed and maintained, then you are going through life without a roadmap. The direction that you navigate without the alignment and guidance of the spiritual divine wisdom, your soul, your higher self, is like a car without an engine. Doesn't go anywhere. It is not focused or directed and has no ability to move. Many are in a directionless, no motion state, just existing within the story with no purpose or plan to their travels. The purpose, the plan, is to understand that you are here to grow your understanding of yourself and the place you occupy in the cosmos, to be aware of the connection to all that exists, and to learn and trust that all that happens to you is part of the roadmap you are following. Believe that the map will fill in as it shows you the next lessons you are to learn and understand, and to have faith that you are being guided by the One and all those who are here to enhance the experience of those listening and aware, like myself, Greg says. The awareness this reality exists beyond the reaches of the earth is important, so you have context. There is much more than what is happening in front of your senses. Be aware and help put into perspective that you are so much more than your experience for your short time on earth. Make the most of the lessons, knowing it is only a brief glimpse into a reality that will fade and become a very short time of your total existence into a myriad of experiences and ways. That is the big picture and gives you an understanding of how important it is to put the earth experience into perspective, because then you can appreciate the daily unraveling with more zest. Ponder that for a while, Greg says. Love, Greg. Then he had another message, beautiful message about alignment with source. You are source. You are connection to source. You have a wise inner knowing of who you are. So many are cut off from the knowing and connection. They react to their story by coming in with the emotional tide and going out with the emotional tide, constantly being crashed on the rocks of their reality. This need not be so. And our communication has been designed around the knowledge that you are not a bottle in the water being crashed upon the shore, but a deep, loving light of connection. And when connected, enjoying the stillness of the deep ocean, not the crashing waves. You are in control, not your circumstances or your negative emotions to those circumstances and situations. Once you are reestablished with the source and are in alignment, nothing can affect you, for you are managing the universe by not responding to your story, and it will respond in kind. Instead, you are in a place of love, peace, and joy, living life to its fullest and maintaining a steady as she goes approach, drawing in the positive vibe for you to enjoy and use for your manifestations. It was never intended to be chaos, but the separation and ego in control create a reaction based on lack of faith, trust, and belief extreme, and creates lack and fear. You are connection, you are one with all, and your vibration raises you and everything else to a higher vibrational response. The next how-to that Greg talks about is you are what you think and feel, and Bill's going to touch on that.
Yeah, I wish somebody would have told me this early on in life, I can tell you, that you are what you think and feel. I mean, based on how you're feeling and based on what you're thinking, that's what you're manifesting. I mean, all that stuff comes back to you. I was telling you that I lived a certain way down here for 60 years. I got off pretty easy for the first little while. But then as life started to catch up with me, and what I was creating and thinking and feeling, things started to get more difficult all the time, But if somebody had to come to me a long time ago when I was little and said, Bill, you know what you're putting out there is what you get back, I would have thought, oh my, this is serious stuff.
Big trouble.
Yeah. So, what you need to do is become the observer of what you're actually putting out there. How do I feel? And how are my thoughts aligned with the highest vibrational thinking that I can do? Because remember, your thoughts and your feelings are what creates your karma. And karma, like Greg says, is a bitch. Okay. And, we've all heard that before. So it's a choice how you want to live down here. You can live in low vibration, you can live in ego, you can live in self-will, or you can choose an easier an easier, better place to live, one where you're doing the most you can to grow yourself, and as a result, have the least amount of high impact on others and everything else down here. You know, you can either create more of the, the consciousness that exists down here, and we know that can be pretty negative if you're watching the news, or you can start to create a whole other world down here. And very early on, my dreams and what Greg was telling me was create and build a new world, and that's really what it's all about. We're seeing that awakening start to happen on this earth, especially with the people who we're surrounding ourselves with these days. There is something happening down here, and people are waking up. And it's amazing what's going to result because of all of that. And Greg is talking about that. So again, higher vibration. And what he says also, if and this is a saying that comes from AA, and I'm amazed how divinely led AA has been too, from a spiritual standpoint. Fake it until you make it. If you're not in that place yet, then try to be in that place. And eventually the faking stops and you're actually making it. So I'll turn that over to Sue again and let her read what Greg has to say about what you think and feel.
Is what you create. So again, Bill was in meditation. Greg started to come through, and Bill got up and wrote this down. Your thoughts and feelings can create anything that you want. You're starting to realize that what you think and feel is what you create, independent of anything that may be happening around you. For your reality is not based on anything external. All your reality is contained in you. And if that is what you concentrate on, that is the reality that you will experience. You are the creator. You are the soul and divine energy of all you experience. Create the world as you want to see it. The rest is noise to ignore. Accomplish that and see the magnificence of your creation. It is beyond miraculous once fully embraced. Do not sway and do not let up. I can feel you aligning with the creator and source of you and all that is. We are here to guide you on this journey where you take command of your feelings and thoughts and make it a world you want. Everything will become easy once this is accomplished. That is passing the test. Manifest at will your own reality, a reality of love and light, compassion and acceptance, peace and gratitude, all for you and all those who enter your world with you willingly to enjoy the same things for themselves. A melding of like minds in the pursuit of their own reality. The souls on this journey with you have been determined from the start to have the same vision in mind that you have. Beautiful to see and experience. We have that power in us to create this mind, to create this through surrender to our love-giving energy of our source, our God. You share this incredible power with the creator as you are the creator, expressing yourself now on earth to learn this lesson. It is your time to do so. We are here for you. Happy, joyful, and magnificent thoughts and feelings. Doing that here on earth will change your experience if you embrace it fully. You will see the craziness, but treat it with love to transform it for you. The last key message that we'd like to share. So there was surrender, alignment to source. You are what you think and feel, is something that I know a lot of us have struggled with, especially when a child or children have passed. And that is finding joy and happiness in life. And over to Bill.
Yeah, joy is something that I didn't really experience, okay, when I was living, here. I only started, and I knew I was a very joyless person. I mean, I was done with this place. I was still existing. I would never have ever, checked out early. I knew I was just going to be down here for a long time, and I was going to be miserable, because of the way I looked at things, and so it really was something that I didn't have. I wasn't an overly happy person. I'd have moments, it's every once in a while I'd be in nature and I'd feel the joy. It would just wash over me very quickly, but then it was gone and I'd be back to, operating the way I always operated. It's funny, I had a really profound Reiki session with Laurie Savoy, and her daughter Kaylee. And one of the big messages I got out of that, and that was back in 2018, spring of 2018, when I was still down in Scottsdale. And my guides came through, and Lori Savoy told me this. She says, first of all, a great big thunderstorm came through. I thought my car was that was sitting out front of her place was going to get washed away, but the universe was getting my attention. She says, that's for you, that storm. She says, and what I'm hearing right now is, and they're not kidding, they want you to find some joy and work on that, and I thought, wow, how am I going to do that, right? Well, Greg started talking to me about it, find that joy and happiness no matter what, because joy taps into source, and God wants us to be down here, not having a horrible, terrible time of it. Yes, we're experiencing things, that aren't easy, but if you got the right attitude, you can get through it, and you can raise a high vibration in those things. And so I've been told, all the time, acceptance and gratitude. There are no mistakes. Everything is happening exactly the way it's supposed to be happening down here. So once you come to terms with that, then you can start to look for the good things and everything that's happening down here. And then you start to change your thinking and your feeling. And before you know it, you're manifesting a whole bunch of really good stuff down here, and life starts to turn around. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Sue, and she can talk to you a little bit about what Greg has to say about joy and happiness.
Yeah, Greg talks about this a lot. And he's told his dad, and he wrote it down. Being happy and joyful, it is what matters. No matter your circumstances, you must believe that no matter what occurs, you will be okay. Trust us when we tell you that you have nothing to fear except fear itself. Do what makes you feel good. Being miserable is not why you came here. To practice the opposite is true. You are here on the earthly plane, so make the most of it and enjoy yourself. There are struggles you endure, and losing a child is no small setback. But to fulfill the reason as to why you came to earth, you must find the good and positive in what has happened to you in order to carry on and be in alignment with God, our loving source. Everything is a lesson, no matter how hard. And your goal is to find the joy and peace in all your challenges and achieve happiness. Being able to do that, you will have learned the lessons for being on earth, to find love, peace, joy, and happiness no matter what. Hard, yes, but it's what you came here to learn. So don't dwell on the hardships, but look for the light in all things, and you will be much more at ease and content. Choose positive, not negative. Choose love and peace, and be grateful for the experience. Be happy. Greg is also at another point in time, he said about the same topic. Again, I say with great encouragement to act as if. This is the only way to find joy, the only way to be grateful for what is, the only way to let God provide all he, she has to offer through belief, faith, and trust that the source, our loving God, has your back. Acting as if puts you in the now. It provides an environment where there is no worry, free of fear, just enjoyment and fun. Forget all about the machinations. That is the ego. Faith and trust are the reality. Put aside all concerns, for the manifestations are waiting for you as you act as if. Feel good, be free, have peace, and let the movie unfold. Be in the know that you are exactly where you're meant to be on this journey. The surprises to the upside are cracking open the current reality to insert itself into new energy flow as you act as if. AA had the concept, fake it until you make it. Feelings are everything, and the dominant charge needed to manifest your dreams. The goal is to feel happy, joy, and abundance for your world as it has no limits. Just let God as you let go and act as if.
That's beautiful. Can I break in here? I just really want to say, first of all, that I love that whole idea of fake it till you make it, because I think that that's what allows us to move forward and be able to do what we need to do until we finally have that lightning strike that happened, for instance, to Bill with Lori and Kaylee Savoy, as well as many other things that were happening in your life, Bill. But I also want to just remind everyone here that Bill is just an ordinary guy who has gone through some incredibly extraordinary experiences. I've been able to know Bill and Susan from the very start. You guys might think that he's a huge philosopher now, that he's somebody who is well known throughout the world. He is someone like all of us, and he has a child in spirit who is very vocal, but who he is able to listen to. And I think that that's the most important thing, is sitting in the silence and listening to what our kids are sending us, to be able to understand how to better live our lives. And one of the questions here is, Daryl and Kelly are saying, Bill, have you found that you get more messages and signs now than at the beginning, or have they waxed and waned over time? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, actually, I'm getting, I often say that to Susan. I said, is it slowing down or not? And then we go back and we look at what we're putting, down in writing on a monthly basis, and it's just as busy as it ever has been. The difference is it's changed, in its complexity. In the beginning, it was a lot more, like I said earlier, Greg showing us that he's still here right with us all the time. Now it's become a lot more, how can I help and guide my parents to navigate the world in which they're living? So in that sense, it's changed, but it's very frequent. I always say that, it's a matter of what you put in is what you get out. So, I make sure that I stay in contact with Greg on a regular basis. That way I know that we're in constant communication and it just keeps flowing.
So when you say stay in contact, does that mean that you go into a room and meditate? Are you consciously careful about meditating and allowing Greg to speak to you?
I am. Sometimes Greg initiates the communication by opening the drawer, or he'll just talk to me because I can now be quiet and I feel Greg immediately come near me and I sense his presence, and then I'll just be quiet, and I hear him. Or Sue will ask me a question and I will ask Greg and he answers. Um, Sometimes at night when I go to sleep, I'll talk to him, and he's come to me in the middle of the night, and I'll get up and I keep a piece of paper and a pen next to my bed and I'll write, but when I meditate, I'll also sometimes ask him to come through if I want to talk to him. And he does, or he'll initiate it and he'll come through to me. And then, sometimes Sue says, go and ask this question, and I'll go in and I'll meditate and I'll come out and I'll have an answer, and then we'll write it down.
It's pretty handy.
Yes, that sounds like a really good way to do this. But I know that you have a lot of physical mediumship kind of episodes where, not necessarily physical, but where you are physically seeing things that are on the ceiling of your bedroom. You're physically seeing lights and Greg, and I think that that's so beautiful. Has Susan experienced these things? Are you able to see these things the same way, or?
There's two occasions in particular that are coming to mind right now where I have, and I know that it's because I was meant to. The first one is, and I wrote about this in one of our monthly columns for the Helping Parents Heal newsletter, was what we called the light show. I saw Greg's lights streaming across our shutters in our darkened bedroom. That was because I was at my end at that point. I was on my hands and knees and I asked Greg, I said, Greg, I know your dad can see you, but I can't see you. And I'm really going down here. Is there something, and anyway, later on that night, he came through with this incredible light show that just streamed across our shutters. with different symbols, and it sped up and then it exploded in a firework that you couldn't hear, but you could see it explode. The other instance was, we haven't talked about this one yet, but we were lying in bed talking intensely about Greg. And there's a lot more to this than I'm about to get into, but Bill saw a light form in our bathroom, which we can see from our bed. And the light came in a pulsing motion towards the door of our bathroom, into our, like, looking at us in our bed. And Bill said, he's telling me this is what I'm seeing, and I couldn't see it. But it shot light into Bill's chest, and he started to shake violently. He was shot with light 3 times. It would pulse and then shoot light. And I actually was able to see on those occasions, I think it was twice that you were shot with light, or 3 times. I'd have to look it up now. It's all written down. But I could see the light, not as bright as Bill could. Bill saw the full effect, but I was able to see that. So yes, I know that when I see and experience those things, it's because I meant to.
That's amazing. And it is
Yeah.
interesting that Bill has all of these abilities when Bill was a very ordinary guy, as you say. You weren't very happy before Greg passed, too. You had a lot of issues. I don't think that Susan was necessarily that way. And then all of a sudden, Greg,
Okay.
all of these abilities, all of this knowledge to you, of course, that Susan can write down too. But it's so fascinating to me. And Monica is saying it was like listening to an audiobook to listen to you, both of you.
That's what Greg is. He's giving us an audiobook. There is no doubt about that. It's absolutely beautiful. And
So when is the book coming out?
oh, that's a good question. Everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people have asked us that. And because I'm a writer and it comes pretty easily to me, some people sweat blood. I'm fortunate, I don't. But I'm also very type A. I'm that perfectionist that Greg talked about earlier. And for me to even write something like a monthly column, I'll be up sometimes till 2 in the morning, and then the next day I'll feel crummy or whatever. And I've known from the beginning that if I write a book, even though I have tons of beautiful material, that it would, like, Bill wouldn't be able to talk to me for probably 3 months. Okay. So Greg actually came up with the answer. Yeah, it might be. Greg came up with the answer. He actually suggested that we write a monthly column. Elizabeth contacted us, and Greg said to his dad that he was kind of thinking about this. It was, sort of their idea on the other side that this should happen, and that this would be an opportunity for Mom to eat the elephant one bite at a time, because I can write a 1,000 word column every month. And then guess what? I've now written, I think this will be 17 or 18, put it all together. And guess what? We got a book. So.
Well, and not only that, but just in case anyone hasn't been able to see these incredible columns that obviously Susan, but also Bill and Greg do together.
Yeah.
They are not only in our newsletters, they're also on the website now. So people can go to our website and check them out, but before they get published in a book. But this is very, very exciting. And we truly appreciate it. We miss you down here in Scottsdale because it was wonderful to have you at our meetings. It was wonderful because Kristin came once as well. And Kristin,
yes, a couple times. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah, a couple times.
Well, she went to Cave Creek as well. Yeah.
Yeah, to Cave Creek. And it was always nice to have her here. Let's see. Monica is also saying, I'm glad I came tonight versus reading the new books from library today. She was going to read some books. Thanks. Lisa's saying, this was amazing. Thank you so much. And it was just wonderful. And again, Bill and Susan's last video, has some of the most views of any of our Helping Parents Heal videos. I'm sure this one will also do the same. So I'm glad that all of you are on here tonight to be able to experience this. And if you have any questions for Bill and Susan, I'll put their information on the YouTube, but they also have a monthly Helping Parents Heal Calgary meeting, and they welcome anyone from any place. So please join them, and maybe you can talk to them about this. And any of
this was just incredible. I can't wait to watch again.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I'll be one of those views.
But
Someday we'll do one on the biblical stuff.
It's all because of this guy.
Look at those eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, I love seeing that
I
picture.
love Greg. And
Greg.
And also, is Riley there? Can you pick up Riley? And
yes, this is the dog that our son gave us from the other side.
They were not dog lovers. They didn't want a dog, but they have this most beautiful dog, and they can't even leave their home now because they don't want to leave Riley.
It's all about Riley now.
Yeah.
All about Riley. But anyway, we love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thanks so much for the
I'd
opportunity.
like to say thank you and good evening. Please go ahead and do so.
Yes, unmute yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you,
Such
everyone.
wise words.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Thank
you.
Have a good night.
Beautiful.
Bill and Susan,
Thank you.
Greg and Riley.
Thank you
Bye,
so
everyone.
much.
Bye-bye.
That was wonderful.